It was just then that the king experienced true fear for the first time. So today I want to talk about Hunter x Hunter, and what I feel is like one of the best romantic... I was Shrek. Halloween was yesterday. Today I want to talk about Hunter x Hunter, and what I feel is one of the best character writing that I've ever seen in any anime. You know, as I watch anime, I realized that for a long time that I was just kind of consuming the media that I watch. And I mean, chasing the high, like what's the next Super Saiyan or what's the next boss battle. So in an effort to give media the concentration I feel it needs to truly be appreciated, I thought I'd talk to you about the king and the blind girl. Before we begin, why don't we start with some housekeeping? I intend to talk freely about the Chimera arc, so there's obviously going to be heavy spoilers as it relates to Meruem and Komugi. You've been warned. So my plan is to condense the story in a way that kind of highlights the points that I'm going to be making later on in the video. Just stay with me. So why don't we start our story by talking about the king. On the night of the king's birth, the colony was busy with activity. Ants were bustling about in anticipation. The queen mother screams in agony. As the time for his birth draws near, she begs for his patience to wait a bit longer. He commands her to silence herself, tearing her belly wide open. The queen can do nothing but writhe in pain and agony. Her entrails lie at the king's feet. Meruem is on a path of total domination. The current ruler of this country has gained power through wealth and inheritance. The illogical nature of this sort of rise to power is disgusting to him, viewing the creatures who would set up such a system to be illogical. A palace dancer begs to be spared, to which the king laughs heartily, as if his food was worth listening to. He looks upon his new land and plans the future, the production of food, the processing of humans that can use Nen. At this point in our story, the king has acquired a taste for Nen users, and this production must satisfy that demand. He chooses brutal efficiency to awaken Nen, trial by initiation. Now, for context, there are two ways to awaken Nen in a person. The first being long practice and meditation. The process is slow, but it allows the trainee time to master the feel of controlling and mastering their Nen. The second is trial by initiation, which is the fastest. The trainee is attacked with Nen, which has a minute chance of causing a Nen awakening. This method, however, is frowned upon by most Nen practitioners for the danger it poses to the trainee. Awaiting for the selection day to begin, the king passes his time by playing games. He takes on world masters of chess, Go and Shogi, and beats them all with his strategy of finding and disrupting the rhythm of their play. Whatever game he plays comes easier to him than the last. In addition to his strength, his intellect is unquestionable. What's interesting is that as he's playing these games, he's really only into playing these games to dominate his opponent, find another win. As you'll see, as time goes on, he starts to actually enjoy the process of playing the games, which is really weird because in some way that's why I am kind of doing the series in the first place. I want to enjoy the process, not necessarily the outcome. As he meets Komugi, he himself is learning to enjoy the process, learning to enjoy the experience of the game more than the outcome. His next opponent is a Gungi champion, a feeble blind girl. She taps her way to the board, stumbling to find the words to introduce herself to the king. The sight of these two is so bizarre. The king who answers to no one but his own whims, who commands obedience and respect from all, and the sickly blind girl, devoid of any integrity or strength, save for Gungi. Their games begin and her aura shifts to one of total focus. As they start, the girl only uses book moves to beat the king. He tries and fails again and again to disrupt her rhythm to no avail. He's frustrated, but where he would have found losing and indignity, instead, bizarrely, he's enjoying his time playing these games. It seems like the king's original plan to be dominant in these games has been disrupted. He finds beauty in the logic of her plays. Another day passes and the king presents a wager. Anything the girl could desire if she wins, and losing an arm if she loses. He's satisfied with himself. Another tactic by the king to finally gain an edge and knock the girl off her balance. She counters with an offer of her own, her life, if she loses a game. The king is ashamed at his wager. He feels it diminished the level of their games, and so he severs his own arm in penance. And I realize this is the only time Meruem felt at fault. I think at this point he's starting to see Komugi as more than just a fool, more than just a regular human. But horrified, the girl demands that the king seek medical help before their games continue, and he threatens to kill her, and she tells him to kill her with Gungi. As they continue to play, the depth of the girl's play only becomes more and more complex. Her potential in the game is far superior to the king, and she's only just beginning to grow. He finds himself gaining a certain respect for the girl's growing strength, and as time progresses, Nen awakens in the girl. The king asks her name. "It's Komugi, sir." "And what's your name?" He doesn't have an answer. King is only a title, not a name. With his royal guard, he reflects on this question. They don't have a satisfactory answer. He tells them about the different strengths he learned from playing Gungi with Komugi, and realizes they only exist to be crushed under his heel. Excited to exercise his power and crush Komugi, the doors slam open into Komugi's room, and the poor blind girl is being attacked by an eagle. She sits on the floor silently weeping to herself as the bird plucks and peels at her skin. The king leaps forward and kills the bird instantly. "Why didn't you call for help?" "I didn't want to inconvenience anyone." He looks at her injuries. "So fragile," he remarks to himself angrily. He's not mad at her for being weak. He's upset that somebody who he doesn't realize he loves so deeply is easily injured. But what happens when the person he loves' life is in danger? One day the palace comes under attack, and in the wreckage, Komugi is mortally wounded. Meruem's malice can be felt by everyone in the castle. He rests her limp body tenderly on the floor as the attackers can only look on, and he caresses her cheek before leaving. Despite winning his battle, the king has been poisoned and only has so long to live. And for me, this is where we really see how deeply the king truly loves Komugi and how much his love for Komugi has changed him over time. After his battle with Netero, Meruem has been poisoned. In addition to that, he has amnesia. He finds Welfin and starts to question him about what happened to Yuppie. Welfin can feel the king's killing intent as the king approaches to devour him, and he has to think of something to save his life. The king's ferocity is so intense that Welfin ages rapidly in just a few seconds, and only one word comes to mind. Komugi. Suddenly, the world gains color, and images of the cosmos and art and nature flow into his mind. At once he sees a vision of he and Komugi sitting silently in a flowery pasture, playing Gungi on a summer's day. Poof being connected to the king now, he grasps how vastly he underestimated his love for Komugi. And I think this sequence gives us the perfect framing of the king before and after meeting Komugi. The fact that he wanted to kill Poof and he was about to eat Welfin, then afterwards, the sights and sounds he sees when he thinks of her. Everything about him is different now. Even being yelled at by Welfin, which before would have got him killed, and being told that he's not their leader, the king only offers best wishes. When he finds Palm in the warehouse, he knows she's hiding Komugi somewhere. He can only ask her to help him. At this moment, he's able to see the intentions of others, and he remarks at how beautiful her resolve is, even going so far as kneeling. It's beautiful, I think. In his final moments, the only thing he wants to do is play Gungi with Komugi. He thinks to himself how he didn't appreciate his men enough. He didn't understand what was truly important. During their game, Komugi plays Kokoriko, a move Komugi had played before, a move that had stumped him at once, but he'd come up with a counter for, just in case. He shares with her his condition, and that if she stays, she'll die too. Her reply is a Kokoriko counter. And in this moment, all she can feel is happiness. In this moment is what he feels he was born for. I think this is the best love story that I've ever seen in any media. I specifically like the way Meruem and Komugi balance each other's strengths and weaknesses. While yes, Meruem is strong and he is super smart, he lacks any humanity. He isn't able to appreciate the beauty of art and nature. Though Komugi may be on the surface weak and really only have one skill in life. There's such depth in the way she plays games, and it's in a way that Meruem can connect to. The beauty and the logic of her plays is enrapturing for Meruem. What was amazing too is the king's strategy of finding his opponent's rhythm and disrupting them was flipped on its head. At every turn, the king's path of domination and disruption was being disrupted by Komugi. When he bet her arm and she offered her life instead. When he went to a room to kill her, but he found the bird hurting her and killed it instead. Or even as something as simple as how she asked his name after he asked hers. On top of the way these disruptions paralleled their gameplay in Gungi. Every time he felt he had her cornered, she was the one to flip him on his head and checkmate him. As time progressed, Meruem couldn't help but recognize the different strengths that existed in the world. And it's not just about recognizing this strength, but valuing the strength in others. And I think the framing of the selection ceremony is the perfect representation of this philosophy changing as well. Where before, he would have had somebody like Komugi go through the initiation process of learning Nen in their original plan. Instead, he got to see Komugi. He got to feel, he got to experience the art in watching something else blossom. Well, that's the video for today. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope it was interesting. If you like it, I could do more analyses like these.